Welcome. I'm delighted and honored to welcome you to Global Footprints, a celebration of nursing now across the Americas. This is a very special time for us to look back at why we came together to do all this work, a celebration of progress we've made in the last several years, and a look ahead to where we still need to continue to work together. I'm Maureen Bisognano. I'm the President Emerita for the Institute for Healthcare Improvement in Boston, Massachusetts, in the United States. And I'm delighted to join you here for this reason. I care so much about nursing now because of my own experiences. When I was a young, very young nurse, that picture on the left is many, many years ago. I had the opportunity to work as an operating room nurse, an ICU nurse, and then in various nursing leadership positions. And when I was 34 years old, the picture on the right, I was invited to be the chief executive officer of a hospital. I was the first woman to be a CEO of that hospital and the first nurse to be a CEO. I had those opportunities because people opened the door. They trusted nursing as a profession that could lead and manage in a brilliantly new way. And it was a new way. After that experience, I had the opportunity to, with Don Berwick, found and lead the Institute for Healthcare Improvement with a global mission to improve health and healthcare in every country in the world. I got to care, to lead, to teach, and to innovate because I had people who were willing to mentor me. And as I've looked back over these years, I want to make sure that everybody gets that same opportunity. So when Nigel Crisp called me a few years ago and said we could come together and create a new way to strengthen nursing in every country, I absolutely said yes to Nursing Now. We still have so much work to do, but Nursing Now in these last 3.5 years has reached 126 countries, more than 31,000 young nurses in more than 800 organizations have had the same opportunity I have. And what we're seeing now is in these last year, the pandemic has really shown a spotlight on nursing, but we still have more to do, really to make sure that nursing's voice is heard in figuring out how to create innovative models to assure that we've got a vibrant nursing workforce for the future. Advanced practice nurses, as an example, are able to take care of almost everything in primary care. And we've got such needs around the globe. Recently here in the United States, I've served on the National Academy of Medicine's committee. We call it Nursing 2030. And our main priority in that committee is to create strengthened nursing systems across the country so that we can decrease the inequities in health and care across the United States. Now, 9 out of 10 nurses are women worldwide. So the more that we can invest in nursing education and in new roles in nursing, the more we can create nursing roles around the world. We're also investing in women's economic growth and really community strengthening. So I want to encourage us to think today about really how do we recruit more people into our profession and how do we strengthen our profession globally so that we can manage the healthcare gaps, the inequities in the United States, but also around the world. Nursing Now has brought nurses and their allies together to learn from each other. And nurses everywhere are urged to keep these links alive as we go forward, to keep this work up because we still have so much more to do. So I welcome you all. We've got a very exciting agenda for us today. And be thinking about how you can contribute to continuing Nursing Now's legacy going forward. It's my great privilege now to introduce Amelia Clark, one of our Nursing Now ambassadors, and she's got some important messages for us.
Thank you, Maureen, and hello, everyone. What an absolute pleasure to join you to celebrate the success of Nursing Now and the Nightingale Challenge over the last 3 years. Nursing Now has made great strides to raise the profile and status of nurses and midwives globally, but there is still so much to do. And with that in mind, I'm really pleased to announce that I will be continuing in my role as ambassador for the Nursing Now Challenge. I'm really looking forward to this next chapter, building on the incredible legacy of Nursing Now campaign to support early career nurses and midwives around the world. It has been wonderful to watch the progress of SAMU's Nightingale Challenge winners. Stephen, Adelaide, Emanuela and Lawrence are nursing students who won our challenge with their innovative project to implement a telehealth rehabilitation platform for people having experienced a brain injury in Ghana. We've been impressed with their thinking skills and their determination to succeed with this project. They're all bright and determined and keen to help people and shape their own careers and are a real credit to the nursing industry. Well done. Over the last year, the pandemic has highlighted the problem and increased the intensity of the lack of rehabilitation support after a brain injury or stroke. Many people experience the feeling of being isolated and alone, which is very similar to how someone feels after a brain injury when they don't have recovery support. The impact of COVID also highlighted even more so the incredible work that you all do, day in, day out. It has helped to reinforce the value of nursing in our society, and I intend to show my continued support and help ensure your voices are always heard. Nurses are a part of a team providing specialist care for brain injury and stroke patients, but I know from personal experience with my own wonderful neuronurse Tina that your role is often the linchpin. You have a unique contribution to make, and I believe that nurses can play an even bigger role in brain injury and stroke recovery. The pandemic has taught us that new and innovative types of services are needed, more community and home-based, more holistic and people-centred, with increased focus on making better use of technology. Brain injury and stroke rehabilitation involves a multidisciplinary approach, with nurses performing a central role. Investing in an advanced practice role for nurses increases patients' access to multidisciplinary rehabilitation service would be beneficial and bring better health outcomes, patient satisfaction and economic savings. That is why I'm very pleased to tell you about the Advanced Practice Neurorehabilitation Education Programme for nurses that my charity SAMU has created in collaboration with Edinburgh University and the RCN Foundation. The aim of this new pioneering programme is to enhance nurses' skills and knowledge of neurological rehabilitation to address the holistic rehabilitation of the brain, body and mind, supporting the mental, physical and cognitive needs of patients who have experienced an acquired brain injury or stroke. This is a first-of-its-kind programme to be targeted at nurses, which has been built following a research project looking at the experiences of young people with an acquired brain injury or stroke, particularly at a young age. We are very proud to have 33 nurses enrolled. It's a great opportunity to support nurses' development, and our ambition is to see the programme continued in the long term. Right, after all of that, I'd like to finish by reading you a poem taken from To Mind Your Life, Marty Balne's book of poems for nurses and midwives. Kindness by Charlie Cox. All that matters is kindness. I know it sounds obvious, but it's true. Think of all the bad things in the world, and then think of you. Think about all the troubles you've faced, and then think of all the kind faces that pulled you through. It's them that reminded you of your power. And on those days you feel you've got little purpose. Remember, as humans, it's as basic as showering others with kindness, compassion, lashings of love. Regardless of race, sex, location, and material stuff, it's kindness in its simplest sense that will take us from this dark present into a more hopeful, prospecting tense. Thank you.
Oh, Amelia, thank you so much. Thank you, one, for your wonderful comments today. Thank you for continuing to work with us going forward, and for that beautiful overview of the kind of wonderful innovations we're seeing from nursing, and for ending with kindness. That's perfect. I have the great pleasure now of introducing our two co-chairs for Nursing Now. Professor Sheila Thau, former Minister of Health from Botswana, and Lord Nigel Crisp, former Chief Executive of the NHS in England. And our two co-chairs have led us all the way through, and I turn it over to you now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Maureen, and greetings from Botswana and South Africa. It has been a very long day for Nigel and I. You know, I logged on at 6 in the morning, and it is now almost 7 o'clock in the afternoon, in the evening, 12 hours later, but we are still enjoying ourselves and we have the energy to go on. So it is indeed a pleasure to share this celebration with you, the nurses of the Americas. Allow me to thank everyone who has been involved in this successful campaign, namely my fellow chair, Lord Nigel Crisp, the Nursing Now board with the members. Some of the members are right here. And of course, we just had our ambassador, Amelia Clark, the Nursing Now Secretariat under the able leadership of Barbara Stilwell, who is with us, and colleagues at the ICN and WHO, and of course you, the global community of nursing. Through this campaign, we became united. The global collaboration and the launching of the Nursing Now groups in the various countries was so inspiring. It reached 126 countries in 3.5 years. We saw the success of the Nightingale Challenge, whereby over 800 employers provided development opportunities in influential leadership for over 31,000 young people. This was a whole lot more than we had expected. We know the COVID pandemic brought nurses into the spotlight, and we showed you as this compassionate and formidable workforce that can take care of humanity in all crises and in all settings. It is now time for the world to invest in you as agents of change for universal health coverage. Now, the pandemic also highlighted that the world is critically short of nurses, and to be effective, we need proper equipment, good working conditions, and appropriate education. Let me conclude, because I want to hand over to my very able co-chair. Let me conclude by focusing on our future, our young nurses, who have been encouraged by our two young board members to be vocal and to be active. To you, the older nurses with experience, I say these young nurses need mentors so that they can learn and develop. They should be encouraged to sign up for the Nursing Now Challenge, which will give them opportunities to develop their full potential as leaders. I thank you. Over to you, Nice.
Thank you very much, and what a pleasure to follow Sheila. What a pleasure to work with Sheila and my good friend Maureen and other great colleagues from the Nursing Now board, including Annette Kennedy and Rosemary Josie and Claudia La Selva, all of whom are going to be speaking later on. I too want to congratulate everyone for what they've done during this campaign. And let me just note, it included these dreadful months of pandemic that has taken such a toll. And I, as a non-nurse, pay tribute to all those nurses and health workers who have been doing such magnificent work during the pandemic, and we owe you all a great deal. And I say thank you to nurses for what they've done during the campaign, but also for what you will do. The campaign is ending, but the work continues. There's much more to do. And indeed, if you want to learn more about what happened in the campaign, you can pick up a copy of our Agents of Change report on the Nursing Now website, and you'll see wonderful stories. Our legacy will continue. Nursing Now groups will be linking in with ICN. I'm sure Annette will mention that in a moment. We've got the WHO, the World Health Organization strategic directions coming up. The Nightingale Challenge is metamorphosing into the Nursing Now Challenge for at least another 2 years. And even more importantly, it's what happens locally. Now, when we set up this campaign, we did so because we believed that empowering nurses, developing and supporting nurses, investing in nurses was one of the biggest things we could do to improve health globally. And I still believe that. It's really important to enable nurses to reach their full potential. And there will be opportunities for development further in the years to come, I'm sure of it. Change is underway. Change is happening. And when we look back in 5 or 10 years, we'll see how far we've come. But let me leave you with a final thought about the future. Our health as individuals is intimately connected with our health as communities and with the health of society and with the health of the whole planet. And that's an idea that I hope we can keep in mind as we move forward together. But finally, let me come back and say once again, congratulations and thank you for everything you have done and everything you will do in the future.
Thank you so much to Sheila and Nigel. Amazing. And it's been so inspiring to work with you these years. And I know our friendship will continue in the future because we still have a lot left to do. I have the great honor now of introducing Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the Director General for the WHO. And the World Health Organization has been an inspiring partner for us in Nursing Now. And Dr. Tedros is wanting to say a few words for us.
Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends and nurses around the world. Over the past 3 years, Nursing Now has played an extraordinary role in raising the profile and status of nurses on the global stage. The campaign has pushed countries towards action, developed a new generation of nursing leaders, and increased the influence of nursing in health systems globally. Last year, Nursing Now, WHO, and the International Council of Nurses came together to develop the first State of the World's Nursing Report. The report highlighted significant global shortage of nurses and provided policy options for countries to leverage the full potential of nurses to support the health of their communities. The COVID-19 pandemic has been especially hard on nurses, many of whom have been at the forefront of the crisis for well over a year. Thank you so much for your continued determination and commitment. As the Nursing Now campaign comes to an end, I urge countries to invest in nurses so they are supported, protected, motivated, and equipped to deliver safe care. That includes endorsing the new global strategic directions for nursing and midwifery at the World Health Assembly this week. My special thanks to Lord Nigel Crisp and Professor Sheila Tlu for the leadership they have shown as co-chairs of the Nursing Now Global Campaign Board. Nursing Now may be ending, but our work to support nurses and countries continues with the same commitment. I encourage countries, healthcare employers, and nurses to engage in the Nightingale Leadership Challenge. We have 2 more years to reach the target of training 100,000 new nurse leaders who will have a positive impact on their communities for many generations to come. Now more than ever, we need the dedication, the skills, and leadership of nurses to deliver care and to deliver a healthier, safer, fairer, and more sustainable future. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tedros. And I love what you had to say about supporting, protecting, and motivating nurses around the world. WHO has been such a powerful sponsor for us and such a powerful partner in looking at the mission of creating strength in nursing in the future globally. I now have the great honor to introduce Annette Kennedy, President of the International Council of Nurses. And again, the ICN has been such a great partner in Nursing Now these years and will continue to be as we go forward. Annette, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you, Maureen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm going to just mention Nursing Now, Nigel and Sheila. They're too numerous to mention all the board members, but I'm sure they're all listening in. The World Health Organization, Elizabeth, whom I'm sure is there too, and Barbara and all the staff for all the wonderful work you did, and not alone the wonderful work you did, but to put this great celebration together as we get to the end of it. I bring greetings from the International Council of Nurses and the 27 million nurses around the world that we represent. And as I said, I have mixed feelings as we celebrate the end of Nursing Now campaign, but all good things come to an end. I'm proud to see what Nursing Now has achieved in the past 3 years and sad to see it finish. Alongside with WHO, ICN has been a proud partner in the most successful global nursing campaign the world has ever seen. Nursing Now has energised the profession and brought encouragement and visibility to nurses who need it most at this time. It changed public perception and it demonstrated clearly to political leaders that nursing is the solution to affordable, accessible and high quality healthcare. I'm not sure they're quite convinced yet. We have a lot more work to do. It is a profession that the world simply cannot afford not to invest in. Collectively, we, ICN, the World Health Organization and the nurses will carry on this great legacy of Nursing Now with pride through leadership, working groups and political influence. The collaborative efforts of Nursing Now with WHO and ICN has already proved very successful. Our chief nurse, Elizabeth Ero, was appointed, but of course we need a chief nurse in every region and in every country, and we will continue that great fight. Working together on the first stage of the World's Nursing Report, and finally on the World Health Organization Global Strategic Direction for Nursing and Midwifery, which we hope will be adopted at the World Health Assembly this week has been a great achievement. Over the past years, all our efforts have been to support, both individually and collectively, the nurses through this pandemic. The story of the Nursing Now campaign, Agents for Change, is a wonderful testimony to the Nursing Now achievements and legacy. ICN is delighted to take forward the nursing groups, many of whom are linked to our national nurses associations. And we have done much research and work with them over the last 6 months. We have a plan to work together with them on the nursing and midwifery strategy, and we know that that will be successful and that will be ongoing. Up to 80% of nurses are suffering mental health issues, and ICN estimated that up to 13 million nurses will be needed to fill the global nursing shortage gap in the next few years. Nurses are central to a strong health system, and we need to invest. So we're urging the governments not to adopt the WHO strategy for nursing and midwifery, but to implement it as a priority if they want to save world health systems and society. Nurses should never again be expected to nurse patients with a deadly virus without appropriate protection and support, and governments have a duty of care to nurses. Just today, the Director General announced that 115,000 healthcare workers had died as a cause of COVID-19. This is not right, and it cannot ever happen again. Right now, we have 60 nurses attending WHA virtually, continuing the political campaign, and they need to see action from government, not words. We need to build on the visibility of nurses have achieved with the Nursing Now campaign and during this pandemic. We have to be equal partners in health policy decision-making and not just the implementers of the decisions. We owe it to the nurses who died to seize the opportunity and to continue this work. The future is in our hands. I thank the Nursing Board, I thank Nursing Now, I thank Nigel Crisp for all the work that he has done, and particularly on behalf of the 27 million nurses worldwide, I thank you for starting this campaign, and we will continue it. Thank you, and thank you to all the staff of Nursing Now. You have been wonderful and have done so much work with very little. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Annette. I so appreciate your comments, especially bringing up the physical and the mental challenges that nurses are struggling with now, and to label the gap that we've got, that 13 million, is really important for us to put that number out there and to begin to work together for it. I have a great pleasure now of introducing Liz Madigan. Liz is the Chief Executive of Sigma Theta Tau International and has been doing a lot of work to help us think about how do we focus the Nightingale Challenge, the Nursing Now Challenge, on the younger nurses across our country. Liz, welcome.
Thank you. So it's my pleasure to be here. First of all, I want to thank Lord Nigel Christ and Professor Sheila Tlau, Maureen, and all the other members of the board, and as well Barbara Stillwell and all the staff of Nursing Now, because if you think about 3.5 years ago when this started and where we are now, it's really phenomenal to think about. So thank you for all your work on that. My comments are really focused on if we want to really have global impact as the world recovers from the COVID pandemic, we really need nurses at all levels to embrace leadership. It's the only way we're going to be able to really affect change. And we know change is needed, as you just heard from Annette Kennedy. I would say that we not only have the opportunity for all nurses to lead, I think we have an obligation for all nurses to lead. And we can only do this if we're supporting multiple leadership programs for nurses at all levels and in all settings and in all countries. So Sigma was delighted to host 2 Nightingale Challenge groups. We've had such a great experience with our first one that we decided to do a second one. But I want to point out that these young nurse leaders are not aspiring to leadership. They are actually leading. In many ways, they've already assumed leadership roles, and I think the best thing we can do is support them. So those of us who are now further along in our careers have an obligation to really provide the mentoring and support they need. And to all the nurse leaders who are, including those who are learning their way, we all had to learn our way, right? I think the other piece that I'm really looking forward to is working with the Nursing Now Challenge. We've had great conversations with Professor Bayless-Pratt already, and we're looking forward to having additional groups involved. I think if you think about how many of us learned our leadership, we learned it on the job, right? Those of us of a certain age learned leadership by doing leadership, but we know, we have evidence that there are better ways. We know that formal training matters. We also know that all nursing organizations need to be providing leadership development for nurses at all levels, and this includes the healthcare systems. So as nurses are provided education and support for clinical topics, we need to do the same thing with leadership. It needs to be part of what we do as part of how we proceed. I think the evidence also will show you that the most effective leadership programs have a mentoring component and have an experiential component. It's not enough with leadership just to learn the knowledge. You need to actually be able to apply it and be supported in as you're doing that. But this is going to take resources, right? These are not inexpensive programs. You just can't put on online programs out there and say, here, learn leadership. What it takes is it really takes resources. And so I think we need to really continue to advocate among the governments, the educational institutions, our partners and colleagues at the NGOs and others to really support programs that are the most effective. It's time for nursing to get rid of our old outdated approach that leaders become leaders by virtue of their age and experience. We've all experienced this. It's now time for us to move on and recognize that if we're really going to have an impact, we need to include nurses at all levels, in all settings, in all countries, and giving them opportunities to learn leadership. The world needs all of us, and it needs us now. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, Liz. That was tremendous. And I love your focus on mentoring and experiential opportunities for young people, particularly. Everything you were saying, I was resonating with in my own career. So I love the deliberate approach and really linking leadership, the fundamentals of leadership with the kind of experience and then mentoring that you described. So thank you for all you're doing. And thank you for your commitment to continue to do that. We've got a wonderful opportunity now to hear from our patron, the Duchess of Cambridge. Our patron has been fantastic in her support of nurses, not only from her own experiences, but also because she feels so passionately about our profession. So here are a few words from the Duchess of Cambridge.
Although we cannot be together in person at this closing of the Nursing Now campaign, I wanted to say a huge congratulations for the incredible work that you've done over the last 3 years. When Nursing Now was launched in 2018, we had no way of knowing just how much the work, dedication, and infinite care of nurses would be tested, needed, and appreciated. COVID-19 has highlighted the vital role that nurses provide, which we all rely on, and it's made all the more extraordinary when we consider the huge sacrifices and personal demands that have been placed on all of you by the pandemic. It has been the hardest of years, and my heartfelt thanks to you and your colleagues around the world for the incredible work you do every day. This short film shows some of the amazing work that Nursing Now has been doing over the last 3 years to develop the confidence, training and leadership potential of over 30,000 nurses and midwives worldwide. I had the pleasure of interviewing Harriet, who is featured in the film earlier this year. Her passion, vision and dedication to the community she cares for is both humbling and inspiring. I wish you all the very best for your future work.
Nursing Now has united nurses and their allies and created a mighty movement for change. In the 3 years since Nursing Now was launched, the campaign has led to the creation of more than 700 independent groups in 126 countries, and has seen over 31,000 nurses and midwives participating in the Nightingale Challenge.
Nursing Now has opened huge opportunities by involving me in high-level discussions and meetings with global health partners, including WHO.
Over the last 3 years, I have been involved as part of the board in contributing towards the voice of young nurses.
Working with Nursing Now, I learned the importance of working together, networking, sharing, advocacy, the need of empowering early career nurses, and the importance of working with data in hand.
Definitivamente, Nursing Now nos vino a enseñar la importancia de la enfermería a nivel mundial, pero también la importancia de la necesidad de enfermeros y enfermeras en puestos de liderazgo y su participación política en los sistemas sanitarios.
The Nightingale Challenge has been a really brilliant opportunity to galvanise nurses across the globe.
Through the partnership with Badet Trust for Nursing, we are implementing our Nightingale Challenge project in Uganda, which aims at building resilience of nurses and midwives in provision of adolescent-friendly sexual reproductive health services.
It has been an exciting opportunity in being able to learn about leadership and what goes into global health decision-making.
It is very clear that no country will ever be able to achieve its goal for universal quality healthcare for citizens without investing in their nurses and midwives.
Nurses are vital agents of change who can improve health and transform healthcare. It's time to invest in nursing and enable nurses to work to their full potential. Over the next 2 years, the Nursing Now Challenge will work to reach over 100,000 nurses and midwives, inspiring the next generation of nursing and midwifery leaders across the world. Please join us as we work together to ensure access to health for everyone, everywhere.
Mi nombre es George Chalet, soy enfermero mexicano y colaborador de la campaña Nursing Now, liderando el movimiento para los jóvenes de México y participando en la creación de redes internacionales con organizaciones estudiantiles alrededor de todas las Américas. A través de nuestro viaje Nursing Now, hemos hablado de los temas en los que creemos: la educación, el liderazgo, el empoderamiento, la participación política de la enfermería y sobre todo el poder de nuestra generación, mi generación, para hacer el cambio y luchar por un mejor futuro, nuestro futuro. Decía Florence Nightingale: prefiero 10 veces morir en el mar nadando hacia un nuevo mundo que quedarme quieta en la playa con los brazos cruzados. Y bueno, en realidad, este camino representa la motivación y el deseo por una enfermería diferente, una enfermería donde notemos el verdadero cambio en el sistema sanitario, una enfermería reconocida, con mejores salarios, con mejores condiciones en general. Ayer, precisamente, en el lanzamiento de la publicación de Nursing Now para cerrar toda esta etapa que hemos pasado, tuve la oportunidad de poder participar en un caso de estudio donde hablé sobre 3 puntos y muy importantes que me gustaría abordar el día de hoy y compartirles también, ¿no? Que fueron parte importante de la motivación y el deseo de poder luchar por una mejor enfermería y que sin duda actualmente seguimos haciendo. Lo primero es utilizar las redes sociales como un medio para conectar a las enfermeras. Durante esta pandemia hemos notado que las redes sociales han influido muchísimo en la conexión de las enfermeras y nos han permitido poder aprender de un país a otro, conocer sus experiencias y sobre todo cómo la pandemia ha sido tan devastadora en los países, pero cómo la enfermería la ha enfrentado en cualquier lugar del planeta. Otro punto muy importante es sobre crear redes internacionales. Yo recuerdo muy bien que cuando ingreso a la campaña Nursing Now como colaborador, uno de mis objetivos importantes era conectar con enfermeras de otros países. Desafortunadamente no domino muy bien el idioma inglés, sin embargo, yo creo que el idioma no debe ser una limitante para poder conectar con las enfermeras de otros países y sobre todo establecer un diálogo. Entonces, a pesar de que no es mi lengua materna o no es un idioma que practico comúnmente porque el mío es el español, esta parte no me detuvo sin duda alguna y pude continuar conectando con esas enfermeras, aprender de ellas y sobre todo en la región de la América Latina y el Caribe, donde aprendí lo valioso y lo importante que es conocer la situación de la enfermería en cada país y sobre todo poder tomarlos como ejemplo para poder mejorar en nuestro país, ¿sí? Y otra cosa muy importante es ser una sola voz, ¿sí? Yo siempre he creído que la enfermería tiene que estar unida y la campaña Nursing Now me ha enseñado eso. La campaña tiene algo muy importante dentro de todos los objetivos que tiene trazado y es que quiere ver una enfermería unida, quiere ver una enfermería donde todos seamos una sola voz y donde juntos luchemos por transformar el sistema sanitario, donde juntos luchemos por mejores condiciones y donde juntos podamos lograr el reconocimiento que tanto anhelamos en los sistemas de salud. Entonces, finalmente, algo muy importante en todos estos puntos que les mencioné, que han sido plasmados precisamente en la publicación de agentes de cambio de la campaña Nursing Now, es que hay un mensaje guardado, ¿no? Y lo más importante es de que de nada nos sirve llegar muy alto si estamos solos. El éxito que se comparte se multiplica. Es verdad que cada quien tiene su montaña, cada quien tiene su reto, pero yo les invitaría, como decía una gran ponente, que a que cuando alcancen la cumbre de su montaña tengan con quién compartirlo. Y precisamente eso se llama trabajo en equipo. Y Nursing Now nos ha enseñado esto y creo que continuaremos inculcando y siendo el ejemplo para miles y millones de enfermeros jóvenes alrededor del mundo. Mi nombre es George Chalet, soy enfermero mexicano, represento a los jóvenes en México en la campaña Nursing Now y agradezco nuevamente la invitación por poder expresarme el día de hoy sobre lo importante que ha sido esta campaña en los últimos años.
Many thanks to you, George, for beginning our journey across the Americas in Mexico. We now have a wonderful panel of other folks to take us across the rest of America. And we'll start with Rosemary Josie, Nursing Now board member. We've been working together for some years now. And she's also a clinical nurse specialist for an ICN representative for the Bahamas. So Rosemary, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you so much, Maureen. Indeed, it is a profound pleasure to serve on the Nursing Now board of the Americas and especially within the Caribbean. The partnerships that has been created in many of our Caribbean islands and throughout the world indeed has been encouraging. This argues well for the commitment of our region to the empowerment of our nurses and midwives to play a more strategic role in health promotion, disease prevention, and treatment of our citizens. During the 3-year global campaign, I have witnessed our Caribbean nurse leaders transform their healthcare system by demonstrating their unique leadership skills. They have commanded their rightful place at the table with key stakeholders when important decisions were being made about the future of nursing and nurses within their respective countries. Ministers of health across the region has pledged their support and paid tribute to the significant contribution of our nurses and midwives to the advancement of universal health care and the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals. Furthermore, they recognize that nurses are the very fiber of the healthcare system. Caribbean nurses, in my view, are among the best of the global nurse leaders of the 21st century. They are passionate, they have a strong belief in self and their vision, they are risk-takers in decision-making, and can articulate the value of nurses and nursing globally. May I introduce Mr. Icu Stewart, a transformational nurse leader within the Caribbean. Mr. Stewart, seeing the need to raise the bar in nursing in Trinidad and Tobago, he became very actively involved in his association in 2010. And while collaborating with a group of similar-minded persons, he convinced the leadership of the then Registered Nurses Association as a trade union in 2014. In 2016, Mr. Icu Stewart was elected as the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Registered Nurses Association, therefore becoming the second male president in the 91-year-old history of the association. May I introduce to you our rising star within the Caribbean, Mr. Icu Stewart. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm indeed pleased to contribute to this discussion by providing a snapshot of the impact Nursing Now has had on nurses within Trinidad and Tobago and the foundational steps we are taking because of the Nursing Now campaign to systematically improve healthcare delivery within Trinidad and Tobago. From a personal perspective, having read the Triple Impact report, which led to the Nursing Now campaign, and upon seeing Trinidad and Tobago being mentioned on page 25 of that report, which spoke about the migratory trends and specifically the anomaly of Trinidad and Tobago hemorrhaging local nurses to more developed countries, which, while in turn recruiting nurses from various nations to cover this deficit. These migratory patterns were based on multiple factors. However, the solution to much of these problems were thankfully wrapped up in the Nursing Now campaign focus. Therefore, it was simple for the association to utilize this template and consolidate our efforts to address these shortfalls. As the campaign focused on 5 core areas, the Nursing Association was successful in achieving 3 of these focus areas. Firstly, ensuring that nurses and midwives have a prominent voice in health policy making. Cassiani wrote and met with both government and opposition members of parliament to get their buy-in to the Nursing Now campaign and the goals it was expected to achieve. We partnered with ILO, PAHO, and a number of other representative organizations and launched a nationwide campaign. We educated the public via social media and mainstream media. As we encouraged government to invest in the nursing workforce, we were successful in getting the government to verbally commit in roundtable discussions with the union and in parliament to the ratification of the ILO Nursing Personnel Convention 149. Also, after 3 years of being vacant, the Chief Nursing Officer position was filled upon our advocacy, and the association continues to lobby the government to fill the remaining leadership positions, including non-traditional nursing positions within the ministry and the regional health authorities with nursing personnel. Due to the pandemic, it has delayed us in achieving 2 remaining focus areas. Therefore, the association will be focusing in accomplishing these remaining areas. The Nursing Now campaign has improved the status and the profile of nursing, and Cassiani would sincerely like to thank the entire Nursing Now team the Buddhist Trust for Nursing, and ICN for this venture. We thank you.
Thank you so much, both to you, Rosemary, and to you, Edie. You perfectly demonstrated the power of Nursing Now. First of all, Rosemary, from your leadership at a national level and to really identify young people as potential leaders. And then Edie, for your provocative and powerful connection to both Parliament and to the government. And I think that unified voice that we can all bring when we share our passion and our need to the government and to Parliament, I think that's really going to help us in the future to take the next steps that we need. So thank you to you both. I'm really grateful for all you're doing there in the Bahamas and Trinidad and Tobago, but also demonstrating globally the power that all of us can have when we work in our own countries that way. I want to introduce next Dean Nilda Paragallo from University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. UNC in Chapel Hill has been one of the most powerful drivers for Nursing Now in the United States. It began there. You reached your arms out to colleagues across the country and truly brought people together in the United States. And so I'm very grateful to you for that. So I'll turn it over to you, Nilda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Maureen. We are so honored to be here and joining everyone here. Who we are, Nursing Now USA is led by UNC Chapel Hill, the American Nurses Association, and the U.S. Public Health Service Chief Nurse in partnership with the University of Washington. I want to especially thank at this point my Carolina nursing colleagues, Cheryl Jones and Romay Alexander, for their leadership and vision. As nurse leaders and advocates, they have been instrumental in moving our Nursing Now USA goals forward. Nursing Now was launched April 9th of 2019 in Washington, D.C. We were joined by 200 colleagues from across the nation and the world. There are some of our guests there speaking at the launch. Now, Nursing Now USA, we have an organizational structure. We have working groups, UNC, American Nurses Association, and USPHS. We have a steering committee, including representatives from ANA, AONL, AACN, NCBSN, CGN, FNS, AA, the Academy, and the Nursing Now Coalition includes a broader audience of individuals and organizations and groups. Nursing Now USA local groups includes volunteers everywhere, grassroots to global, National Association of Indian Nurses of America, University of Miami, Stony Brook University School of Nursing, Emory University School of Nursing, and Global Health Access Institute. Nurses Lead America to Health. Our aim is to educate consumers, families, and communities about nurses' effect on their health and well-being, and to ensure nurses' position to drive changes that will improve health and health care for all people. Achieving the goals of Nursing Now USA took the commitment of many, engage organizations and employers to support the Nightingale Challenge, raise funds for tax-deductible contributions to Nursing Now USA, and convene 3 national meetings to bring leaders together around Nursing Now USA goals. And we have a set of commission papers that reflect nursing innovations. Take away from Nursing Now, we develop and coalesce around our shared goals. We identify priorities to address the critical need for nurse leaders and to drive forward in innovative nurse leader development in the USA. We convene panels at early, mid, and advanced career nurses to share, learn, grow together to identify leadership development and meet the future of nursing leaders. And we challenge constituents to take part of the Nightingale Challenge. We had 50 US employers taking part of this challenge. And Nursing Now is now extended through 2021. The next steps are the papers that we have commissioned on nursing practice, nursing education, and nursing leadership. And we look forward to these papers and to publicize them and disseminate them across the world. So we are very excited for all these that has happened in the US. So thank you very much for having us, for our participation, and looking forward to the work of this upcoming period. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nilda. And it's been so inspiring to watch your organization really develop a grassroots campaign across the entire country. So thank you for what you're doing. It's a great pleasure now for me to introduce one of the Nightingale Challenge participants, one of the young nurses. Amy Staley is a staff nurse on the Orthopedic and Vascular Medical Surgical Unit at New York Presbyterian Weill Cornell in New York City in the United States. And Amy, I'm really excited to hear your experiences with the Nightingale Challenge.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amy Sailey, and I am a staff nurse at New York Presbyterian Hospital Weill Cornell Medical Center, also known as NYP Weill Cornell. I began my new graduate nursing orientation in May of 2019. Eager and excited, I showed up to my first day 2 hours early. Standing outside of the hospital, I heard my name, felt a tap on my shoulder, turned around and saw the woman who had hired me. She smiled, said 30 minutes to Magnet, and led me into an auditorium. Magnet is an international designation of nursing excellence. I had no idea that this announcement was taking place on my first day. I cheered alongside hundreds of unfamiliar faces who would soon become my colleagues and leaders who would support and inspire me each day. It was at this moment that I realized I had not only been given an employment position as a registered nurse, but a voice to advocate for my patients and lift up other nurses. As a Magnet organization, NYP prides itself on being nurse-driven. We have driven ourselves all the way up to 4th in the United States and #1 in New York. Our Transition to Practice mentoring program provides new graduate nurses with a safe space to learn without judgment. I participated in this program alongside a cohort of other new nurses where we celebrated our growth and learned to adapt to the world of nursing. We also took part in evidence-based research projects where we discovered solutions to real issues within our units. My project regarding blood clot prevention was presented at our annual poster symposium and submitted for continuing education accreditation. I completed this program in 2020 and even had the privilege of speaking at my graduation. Around the same time, we began to experience our first global pandemic. We quickly learned how to work together while staying apart from one another. As a medical surgical nurse, I was trained to be a step-down nurse where I cared for more critical patients. I worked overtime shifts of all hours to make up for other nurses who couldn't come to work. I listened to the cheers and applause of my city each night at 7 p.m., clapping back in appreciation for those who stayed home to allow us to continue fighting for those who needed it most. As cases dropped in New York, they increased rapidly in Florida. Just over a year as a practicing nurse, I volunteered alongside 11 of my colleagues to a deployment in Ocala, Florida, an area in dire need of relief and assistance. Limited staff, scarce supplies, and a 52-bed negative pressure unit of only COVID-positive patients, this unit was fully nurse-run. When a patient was discharged, I transported them downstairs, quickly raced back upstairs to mop the floor and clean the room for my next patient. I was designated as an ICU Resource Nurse, where I assisted other nurses with patient care while teaching them the skills that I learned from our peak in New York. During my busiest shift, we had 17 codes on 17 separate patients. I also provided recommendations regarding the usage of code PPE, which were permanently implemented into policies upon my departure. When I returned to New York, I was granted the privilege of administering some of the first COVID vaccines to my colleagues, patients, and community. I was also named co-chair of the Nursing Communications Committee, where I gather stories from other nurses to celebrate their accomplishments and to be featured in various nursing media platforms. Today, I serve as a charge nurse and preceptor, assisting new grad nurses in developing their own voices. My first 2 years as a registered nurse have left me in awe of both science and the human spirit. Through calamity and adversity, I have learned that many of us define who we are by what we do. My name is Amy Staley, and I am proud to be a nurse at New York Presbyterian Hospital, Weill Cornell, and a proud Nightingale Nursing Now Challenge nurse. Thank you for allowing me to share my voice with you today.
Oh, Amy, I am so inspired by what you had. I know everybody's clapping. To think what you've done in 2 years is just incredible. And I love that you talked about blood clot prevention and COVID adaptations, and you really brought us to the front line again and really reconnected us to the meaning of nursing. I'm so grateful to you for sharing your experiences. I have a wonderful opportunity now to introduce one of my favorite people, Monica Lamtree. Monica is the program manager for system nursing at Indiana University Health System and is doing a fantastic job in leading the Nightingale Challenge there at Indiana University Health. So Monica, over to you.
Thank you, Maureen. It's a tremendous honor to be here sharing this platform with all of you and everybody that's dialing in remotely. I began my journey with IU Health System Nursing Team in October of 2019, and one of my first projects was implementing the Nightingale Challenge. So with 2 months to implement it, starting in January of 2020, I looked at our overall system goals and our nursing strategic objectives and worked to align it. And some of the impact that we're seeing with this program, I hope would inspire you to act, to do something for your early careers and your nurses. So one of our Indiana University Health priorities is that we will provide leadership development to all levels of nursing. It was quite pleasing to listen to Liz Madigan with Sigma talking about the importance of that. And some of the things she shared just were aligning with what I did for our Nightingale Challenge program. So designing the program, I think the first and most important thing to me that helped cement it and really make it successful was having a message, a clear message for nurses. And that message was lead regardless of your role. So it was very important that I awaken that awareness in our early careers nurses and let them know that by the virtue of our profession, we're called to lead every single day, regardless of our role. So we must be equipped to do that. And as they interact closely with our patients and they're first in our profession and we're wanting them to succeed us, we must get them that the resources and the skills. So I designed the program around 4 key activities. So the first were foundational leadership courses that were offered quarterly, supplemented by articles that just reemphasize everything that we talked about. And then we had reflection. So they had to, I created a passport. It was a journal for them to reflect every time they engage in things. And then we also had the experiences, very important. So they moved through that. I mean, we had some delays with the pandemic, but some of the outcomes we saw was that 40% of our nurses accepted leadership role. The importance of this is I never stressed any kind of leadership role. It was all about leadership behaviors. It was all about embracing that and leading from the bedside. But a lot of them said they felt it helped create their self-awareness, it gave them confidence to then pursue leadership roles. So we effectively created a great pipeline for our leaders. We had 21% go back to school because we highlighted the importance of continuing education and advancing the nursing profession. We had 17% get your certification, with about 64 planning to do that. Again, investing in our patients and empirical outcomes. They knew that they needed to get certified in their specialty areas and really be those top performers in that area. And the beautiful surprise was that 70% of them got mentors because we stressed the importance of their continued growth and development. So a lot of it, we saw impact statements around engagement and healthy work environment. And I still hear to this day how important it was for us to offer that intentional commitment, intentional growth and development. So we had a lot in our system that they could participate, but nothing was curated and really structured appropriately to give them both the information and the ability to apply it. So I hear it and I'm inspired by them and nurses like Amy. And I just want to say your nurses would thank you for this, please continue to invest in them. And happy to say we had decided before Nursing Now decided to continue the Nightingale Challenge that we will continue it indefinitely as a program for nurses. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Monica. I always get inspired when she says everybody needs to lead regardless of their role. And then to prepare the structure and the passport is just incredible. So much to learn about the leadership structures and imperatives and energy from people like Monica. So thank you so much. We now are going to go to Latin America, to Brazil, and I'll introduce Claudia La Selva. Claudia is one of our Nursing Now board members. She's also the Director of Patient and Healthcare Support at the Albert Einstein Hospital in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And Claudia's been not only leading there for Brazil, but also across other countries in Latin America. So I'll have you hear from Claudia now.
É prazer estar aqui com vocês. Eu gostaria de apresentar a professora Doris Daia. A Doris é doutora em enfermagem pela Universidade de São Paulo, professora adjunta aposentada da Universidade Federal de São Paulo e coordenadora da Comissão Nacional de Enfermagem e Saúde Mental. Gostaria de apresentar também a Elisete Leão, que é graduada em Letras e Enfermagem, especialista em saúde pública, terapia floral e educação à distância. É doutora em enfermagem pela Universidade de São Paulo e tem pós-doutoramento em ciências humanas pela Universidade de Estrasburgo, na França. Atualmente é pesquisadora do Instituto Israelita de Ensino e Pesquisa do Hospital Albert Einstein, onde coordena o programa de pesquisa de enfermagem multiprofissional. Gostaria de pedir que a Liz começasse compartilhando a sua excelente contribuição de um grupo Nursing Now aqui na Amazônia e, na sequência, passo a palavra à professora Doris. Muito obrigada.
Obrigada, Cláudia, pela apresentação. Primeiramente, eu e as demais autoras gostaríamos de agradecer a oportunidade de compartilhar o estudo sobre o perfil e manejo da dor na perspectiva de indígenas da Amazônia brasileira e também dizer o quanto nós estamos honradas, né, em ter esta pesquisa reconhecida como uma das iniciativas do Nursing Now Brasil. Antes da pandemia, nós fizemos 2 expedições à Amazônia, com o apoio da Fundação de Amparo à Pesquisa do Estado de São Paulo, a FAPESP, e do Hospital Israelita Albert Einstein, do Instituto de Pesquisa onde eu atuo. A nossa primeira expedição, então, a expedição Leininger, foi feita na região do estado do Amazonas, numa região de tríplice fronteira entre o Peru, a Colômbia e o Brasil. E a nossa segunda expedição, então, também foi para a região da Amazônia, mas no estado do Acre. E nós trabalhamos com 5 etnias. Trata-se do primeiro estudo de dor de indígenas realizados no Brasil, né? E nós trabalhamos com os Matis, Canamaris, Marubos, Runiquins e Axanincas, com o intuito de conhecer como era a experiência de dor, né, das etnias indígenas e também o tratamento utilizado para o seu controle e manejo. Os nossos resultados evidenciam que a dor musculoesquelética, seguida da dor de cabeça, né, das cefaleias, são aquelas mais frequentes nos 5 grupos estudados, né, e que os descritores sensoriais de dor foram os mais predominantes, em detrimento daqueles sensoriais ou avaliativos, né, que demonstram o quanto que os aspectos culturais influenciam na expressão e também no comportamento doloroso. Além disso, né, essa dor ela era tratada com medicina tradicional indígena, também pela medicina não indígena, né, eles usam a medicina que eles chamam do branco, e ela piora quando eles vão para o trabalho de campo e afetam principalmente o sono e as atividades de vida diária. Isso é muito preocupante pensando, né, o quanto que essas atividades são essenciais para a sobrevivência dessa população. Quanto à medicina tradicional que eles utilizam, né, a medicina tradicional indígena, eles utilizam o uso do rapé, diversas práticas espirituais para o alívio da dor, e também extratos de vegetais e também de animais. E nós desenvolvemos, então, uma cartilha que foi traduzida do português para o marubo e do português para o nhengatu, que são algumas línguas utilizadas por algumas dessas etnias lá na Amazônia, e nós distribuímos isso para o Ministério da Saúde e também para os profissionais de saúde que atuam nesses distritos sanitários de saúde indígena, com o intuito de melhorar o diálogo intercultural e também melhorar a qualidade do cuidado, né, no alívio da dor dessa população vulnerável. Nosso projeto, então, em números, né, nós tivemos aí uma pesquisadora, 2 estudantes de mestrado, 8 integrantes nessa equipe de pesquisa, 5 etnias estudadas, 7 aldeias visitadas, 90 indígenas participantes, 4 guias locais, 5 tradutores indígenas, mais de 5.000 quilômetros por via fluvial, mais de 17.000 quilômetros por via aérea, uma dissertação de mestrado defendida pela Elaine Moraes, no nosso programa, né, de mestrado profissional em enfermagem, 2 cartilhas bilíngues, 2 comunicações orais apresentadas internacionalmente, 3 palestras nacionais e 4 em eventos internacionais, mais de 60 inserções na mídia, né, e uma reportagem feita pela própria FAPESP, que está no seu site, cujo vídeo foi visto mais de 1.700 vezes pelo YouTube. Nós tivemos a honra de receber um prêmio na Conferência Europeia da Sigma Theta Tau, e agora essa iniciativa Nursing Now Brasil, que muito nos honra, e o nosso trabalho acabou de ser aceito e em breve vai estar publicado no Journal of Pain Research. Eu finalizo com essa imagem da Amazônia, né? Nós viajamos aí mais de 2 dias e meio para chegarmos na primeira aldeia, e nós dormíamos na beira dos rios, no Vale do Javari. E eu costumava dizer que não era nenhum hotel 5 estrelas, mas que essa vista é a que eu deixo com vocês. Muito obrigada.
Doris, Liz, muito obrigada. Excelente contribuição da enfermagem para a comunidade indígena da Amazônia. Muito obrigada, parabéns pelo trabalho. Convido a professora Doris para falar agora sobre o seu trabalho durante o Nursing Now com os profissionais de saúde em relação ao cuidado na sua saúde mental. Doris, por favor.
Sim, agradeço a oportunidade e vou expor a experiência da saúde mental, visto que os profissionais de enfermagem apresentam um grande problema na relação de sofrimento emocional, na relação com o trabalho. Então, com a chegada da pandemia, nós criamos uma plataforma de atendimento online, 24 horas por dia, nos 7 dias da semana. Recrutamos os enfermeiros, porque era um atendimento de enfermagem para enfermagem. Então, só atuavam enfermeiros. Então, os enfermeiros, especialistas, mestres e doutores, passaram a atender online os profissionais que estavam na linha de frente. Eles apresentaram os sofrimentos que eram muito sérios, muito graves, e que foram piorando na medida em que ficava pior a pandemia. No entanto, nós já conseguimos ultrapassar um número de atendimentos grande, nós já temos mais de 10.000 atendimentos, e criamos na plataforma uma comunidade de destino, porque nenhum enfermeiro da saúde mental quer parar de contribuir e de atender este sofrimento do profissional da enfermagem. Então, nós temos aí uma resposta satisfatória. Muito obrigada.
Obrigada to all of our friends in Brazil, and thank you for all that you're doing. We're going to move now to our last section, and I want to introduce Ernest Grant, who's the president of the American Nurses Association. Ernest is going to do a little bit of a reflection on nursing now, and then really help us to look forward to the future of the nursing profession. Thank you, Ernest, for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be with you today on this very important Global Nursing Now event. On behalf of the American Nurses Association, which represents the interest of America's 4.3 million registered nurses, I would first like to commend the strength, the dedication, and innovation of nurses on the front line during this global pandemic. Nurses have always answered the call to serve their countries and communities during times of crisis. And since COVID-19 took hold in communities across the world, nurses continue to provide care, risking their own lives, their own health and safety. They're providing expert, compassionate care, leading by examples, and shaping healthcare policies and advocating for resources. And with the arrival of life-saving COVID-19 vaccines, hopefully we've turned the corner. And while the last year has tested us on so many levels, we've confronted this crisis with grit, resilience, kindness, and embracing a common spirit of being in this together. And for that, I've never been more prouder to call myself a nurse. With the introduction of Global Nursing Now and subsequently Nursing Now USA in 2019, a great movement was started to give nurses their voice, not only for better health care, but also as leaders. And as we know, the Nightingale Challenge aimed to equip and empower the next generation of nurses and midwives as leaders, practitioners, and advocates in health. I'd like to quote Barbara Stilwell from August of 2020, when she said that the Nightingale Challenge recently reached a huge milestone of over 30,000 nurses and midwives now enrolled in leadership development programs around the world. I'd like to review some of the challenges that I see moving forward for the future of Nursing Now Global. First of all, we know that we need to have the establishment of leadership academies to groom and grow future leaders of the profession. We also know that we need to empower nurses with the knowledge of how to use their power or to use the power of the vote to promote change, not only in healthcare, but also in social justice as well. Nurses also must feel empowered to be the leaders to stand up to racism in healthcare, particularly among their colleagues. And nurses must listen, actively listen, and also be drivers of change. And finally, nurses must influence their legislators who have taken up their legislators to realize the importance of access to healthcare for everyone. So these are just a few challenges put forth to those as we move into the future of Nursing Now Global. I would also like to say there's still more to do. And with your support, we know that we can succeed in reaching even more employers and supporting even more nurses and midwives to become leaders, practitioners, and advocates in health. June 2021 will mark a new beginning of the Nightingale Challenges as it becomes now Nursing Now Challenge under the continued leadership of Professor Lisa Bayliss-Pratt. Nursing Now Challenge will also carry forward the ambitious mandate of the Nightingale Challenge and will work with health employers from around the globe to create leaders and development opportunities for more than 100,000 nurses and midwives in more than 150 countries. This year, as the ANA is commemorating its 125th anniversary, over the years we've had the privilege of serving nurses through our work to advance and elevate the profession, to improve the work environment, and to strive for the public good. And we will valiantly take up the new challenge that is being presented. So in honor of the Year of the Nurse, ANA has expanded the traditional National Nurses Week into a whole month. This is a time for citizens to recognize the positive impact of America's registered nurse, again, reinforcing the Global Nursing Now campaign. So whether it's a health emergency or routine daily care, nurses' vital contributions impact the health and well-being of their communities. And this is why our theme for this year, Nurses Make a Difference, is so extremely important as well. So during these times, we've been challenged to be more innovative, flexible, and persistent. We will undoubtedly carry many of the lessons that we've learned into our future work. So throughout this tremendous times, we have made great strides, and we look forward to continuing to be successful. Thank you.
Oh, Ernest, you always inspire me, and you're really laying out the challenges for us from a social perspective, and I love that. Health, healthcare, and society, and if we can't get our communities to really rally around nurses, we won't get healthy. So thank you for that. I have the great pleasure now to introduce Sylvia Cassiani, the Regional Advisor on Nursing and Allied Health Professionals at PAHO and WHO, to expand from the United States to helping us to think a little bit more globally about the legacy for nursing now. Sylvia.
Thank you, Maureen, Barbara, and all colleagues from Nursing Now campaign. It's a pleasure for us to be in this event and celebrate nursing now across the Americas. Nursing professionals represent 56% of the health services workforce in the region of the Americas. And nurses can play a crucial role in achieving and expanding the access to primary health care, health promotion, disease prevention, and nursing care without leaving anyone behind. However, a strong nursing profession is essential in order to transform healthcare systems in the region of the Americas. Without the investment required in education and labor market, it will be very difficult for countries of the region to reach the Sustainable Development Goals and universal health, universal access to health, and universal health coverage. Considering the relative size of health systems workforces that we have in this region. Investments in education, in the creation of decent jobs, are worth triple their value for health security, and global economic growth, as it was concluded in 2016 by the United Nations High-Level Commission on Health, Employment, and Economic Growth. The Nursing Now campaign, as you can see in this event, in this region, has become a great social movement with the creation of an active network of national groups working from their potential in order to influence policies and request more investment in health, human resources for health, and nursing professionals. Continued work on increasing investment in health is necessary. Recently, the PAHO director, Dr. Carissa Etienne, said, and open quotation marks, throughout this pandemic, we've seen what happens when countries deprioritize the health systems. Whether it's a shortage of PPE, ICU beds, oxygen, or health workers, countries are being forced to act quickly to make up for years of underinvestment. And while countries have dramatically expanded their healthcare capacity in just a few months' time, our health workers are continuing to feel the strain of this pandemic. We know that at least 1.8 million health workers have become infected with COVID in our region since the start of this pandemic, and nearly 90,000 have died for the virus. However, we urge that countries to make the most of limited doses by protecting health workers, including the 9 million nurses working in our region. And finally, she said, let's invest in nurses and ensure they have the tools, training, and resources they need to do their jobs safely. And close the quotation marks. Thank you for my colleagues, nurses from the region of the Americas. Gracias a las enfermeras y enfermeros de la región de las Américas. E muito obrigada, colegas enfermeiros da região das Américas. Thank you so much, Maureen.
Gracias and obrigada to you as well. And thank you so much, Sylvia. You're reminding me that we not only need PPE, but we need psychological PPE for nurses. We need really to protect their whole being. So, and I love your advocacy for investment in education and employment. Really laid the way for us. I now have the great pleasure to introduce Elizabeth Ero, Chief Nursing Officer for the World Health Organization. And Elizabeth's going to really give us some challenges on how to build on the legacy of Nursing Now and how to think about including some of the work of WHO in our work as we build a strong nursing workforce for the future. Elizabeth, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Maureen. First of all, I just want to acknowledge all the previous speakers and thank them all for sharing their stories. And it's really great to hear their impact on health outcomes in this region. It's really been fantastic. To Nursing Now co-chairs Lord Nigel Crisp and Sheila Talau, and the alternate chair, Baroness Mary Watkins. Thank you for your leadership and the excellent team you have engaged to really amplify the importance of nurses and nursing worldwide. The Nursing Now campaign has for sure ignited a response from nurses in the Americas region and all over the world that has prompted efforts to raise the status of nursing and amplify the importance of their roles and contributions to universal health coverage. Nursing Now was a key partner of the International Year of the Nurse and the Midwife, which further increased the visibility of nurses in a year designed for celebration and positive advocacy. But the spotlight fell on our global nursing workforce for very different reasons indeed. As COVID-19 spread around the world, we faced the greatest challenge our profession has ever seen. Overwhelmed by the pandemic, our communities around the world drew strength and support from our established national and global connections and networks, and nurses and midwives were able to share their realities and lessons learned. It has not been easy. The response and actions alongside those of our health and care workers around the world has shown the critical role nurses and midwives have in healthcare systems. Despite the challenges posed by the pandemic, in 2020, the World Health Organization launched the first ever State of the World's Nursing Report, which has informed the global strategic direction for nursing and midwifery. Again, Nursing Now is a key partner in the development of these documents, but many of you have contributed to the data and the collections and the evidence and participated in consultations to ensure that the strategic direction for nursing and midwifery captured key components relevant to nursing and midwifery and your country. So thank you all. And I also want to acknowledge my colleagues in WHO, especially the Health Workforce Unit, who led this piece, colleagues in the Maternal, Child and Adolescent Health Unit, and also the WHO Task Force for Nursing and Midwifery for their collaboration to make sure we had a robust document with internal collaboration and external collaboration. We are pleased that the strategic direction for nursing and midwifery is on the agenda at the World Health Assembly this week. And this will be an important item we urge health ministers to endorse. These documents will have provided a roadmap for strengthening nursing and midwifery going forward. It has provided a series of recommendations on policy options, strengthen nursing and midwifery, and covers areas of education, employment, leadership, and service. With health ministers' support of these strategies, you have a more positive opportunity to implement policy options that are important in your countries. Nursing Now Challenge and our young nurse and midwife leaders is sure to light the next chapter going forward. It has been my real pleasure to join Nursing Now in this global journey, seeing the nursing global footprints today. I thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm really excited to hear what happens this week at the Assembly, and to hopefully see nursing take a very prominent role given all we've been through. So thank you for that. And Barbara Stillwell is our global leader. She's the person who has designed and led Nursing Now for these years. And I'm so grateful to turn it over to you to end our conversation here this afternoon.
Maureen, thank you so much, and thank you for wonderful chairing of this session. You've really led us brilliantly through the last session of the day. I have been thinking during this session about summing up this day that we have had together. Elizabeth and I have been on every one of the regional sessions, and many of you I know have been more than one. And so have the team that I want to now just give a big shout out to right up front. That's Catherine Irwin, Hannah Finch, and our technical team, MPG, who've been with us every step of today since 5 a.m., actually probably before 5 a.m. in Britain, till now, which is 7:30. So, you know, it's been a long day. But not only that, yes, big shout out to them. If we could pull aside those virtual curtains, we could let them take a bow. But they have been wonderful, and not only because they've been here today, every step of the way, but because to set this up, we've had over 70 speakers. We've been in 6 regions, many languages, and we've had to meet with all of these people beforehand, not me always, but Catherine, Hannah, and the technical team, to set up the program so that today they would run as they have, which has been almost flawless, which is an amazing feat for such a big event as this. So what we've learned, I think, through these meetings, through working together to set this up, is the tremendous goodwill that exists for nurses everywhere around the world. I don't think there's been anybody that we've asked to take part in this who's turned us down, which has been amazing. There's a huge shared vision among all of us, and the vision is about what nursing offers, what nurses can do. And if you think back today and in this session, we have had global health heroes join us. Nurses and people who aren't nurses have joined us to talk about nursing, to talk about the impact of nursing now. Such tremendous support. And it's that vision, I think, that has resulted in such what Sylvia called a social movement, such a powerful social movement that we must continue, because the journey it's not stopping here. This is a way station and the road continues, and we need to be together on this road to make sure that nursing is going to fulfill all the potential it has. There are 3 things that I've taken away from this session, and actually from today, 3 special things. The first is, as Liz Madigan said, it's about young nurses, isn't it? It's about the future. It's about what young nurses are offering us. And as Liz pointed out, they're not going to become leaders. They're already leaders. And, you know, we older nurses need to be supporting them, helping them, holding them up on their leadership journey. And not only that, we need to be learning from them. And I was very, very reminded of a value that this campaign has, which is everybody has something to teach and everybody has something to learn. And I think that's something that for me is a golden rule. We all do. We can all teach and we can all learn, and we can learn from young people too. So kudos to the many young people who've appeared on our platforms today. The second thing has been that it's been a day of reflection and memories. And for many of us, recalling the last time we were actually together in person, which has been lovely, hasn't it, to think about. And we will, I hope, be together again. But it's also, we've shared how much we loved going to each other's countries, sharing our cultures, sharing our challenges, sharing our solutions. And that has been what Nursing Now has done throughout the world. It's provided a platform where we can meet. And even though we couldn't meet in person, we've been able to meet virtually, and we can continue to meet virtually. It's that sharing, that learning together that really makes us powerful as nurses, that gives us a power together for the future to show what we can do. And the third thing is that you see through all the many, many stories today that we've heard about what's been achieved through Nursing Now, change is possible. Nurses are agents of change. And that's why we called our report Agents of Change. And we do leave footprints. Look at our footprints. And that will go on. Together, we will be a powerhouse for change. We will continue to be a powerhouse for change for the better, for change for the better for our patients and for each other. And we'll be led by those wonderful, vibrant young people. So my heartfelt thanks to all of you who've taken part today in this amazing global event. And I hope down the road that we will all meet again, virtually and in person. Thank you so much.